Hello everyone, I'm Teacher Epoy and I'm gonna have a review on the different factoring methods. Specifically, I'm gonna be talking about the common monomial factoring, the factoring difference of two squares, and the factoring general quadratic trinomials. Let's start. Let's begin with definition of terms. Factoring is a process of finding factors of a given product. It is the reverse of multiplication. If you are gonna have 6, the factors, that's 2 times 3. So you have 6 is the product. 2 times 3, 2 and 3 are the factors. Pwede man said, it's okay to have 6 times 1 or 1 times 6 for 6. So still the product is 6, but the factors are 1 and 6. So take note, factoring is the reverse of multiplication. Let's start with the first factoring method, the common monomial factoring. Take note, this will be the priority all the time. When doing factoring, you always start with the common monomial factoring. And if it does not apply, then go to the other factoring methods. Let's start with the greatest common monomial. Factoring the common monomial factor is the reverse process of multiplying a polynomial to a monomial to a polynomial, or simply the distributive property. Look at this. Multiply A and B, you'll get AB. Multiply A and C, you'll get AC. That is the distributive property. So this time, I'm gonna give you this, and you will give me the factors. So that's the process now. So let's have a recall. So if I'm going to be distributing this, I'm going to get 12a. If I'm going to be distributing this, I'm going to get 16. The same process as example number 2. Distribute to get this. Multiply this. Distribute to get this. So take note, multiply the constants with the constants. Apply the rules in multiplying integers. For the same variable, add their exponents. And then you copy the remaining variable. Anyway, that's just a simple recap of their distributive property. Let's go to the greatest common factor now, the GCF. So take note, the GCF of two numbers or more than two numbers is the largest number that can divide all the numbers. Example, what is the GCF between 16 and 28? You think of a number, the greatest number that can divide 16 and 28. Yes, correct. The GCF is 4 because 4 can divide 16 and 4 can divide 28. And it's the biggest possible number that can divide 16 and 28. Let's have example letter B. 36 and 48. What is the greatest common factor? Correct. The greatest common factor is 12. I cannot have 6 because 6, it's okay. 36 divided by 6 is okay. 48 divided by 6, pwede. But there is a number greater than 6 and that number is 12. Because you can divide 36 by 12, 48 by 12. So take note, 12 is the largest number that can divide 36 and 48. Now, what if you are given variables now? It's so easy. You are going to be having, in choosing the greatest common factor of the variable, you just need to copy the lowest exponent of the common variable. Look at the variable A. So the variable A has an exponent, lowest exponent is 2. That's why we have here a squared. For the variable B, the lowest exponent is 1, or simply B. For the variable C, the lowest exponent is 2. That's why we have C squared here. That's how you get the GCF of variables. You get the common variable with the lowest exponent. Okay. Now this time, let's combine both variable and number constant. So we have here, find the GCF of the following numbers. Okay? 12 and 36. 12. Correct. For x squared and x squared, it's x squared. For x cubed and y, it's y. For z squared and z, it's z. So take note, in choosing the greatest common factor, use the following rules. Number 1, find the GCF of the constant. Then the second step is get the common variable with the lowest exponent. Now let's apply this over factoring now. So you have here, factor this. So first step, what's the GCF of 12 and 36? The GCF of 12 and 36 is 12. That's totally right. Now this time, you look at the variable. This one and this one. So what's common? Common and the lowest exponent is x squared. Common variable y, the lowest exponent, 1, that's y. For z squared and z, you'll have z there. So meaning, the GCM now is 12 x squared yz. And what are we gonna do with that? You simply write that as the common factor, 12 x squared yz. And then you do division. This one, the first term, divide that by 12x squared yz. So you're gonna be getting what? Y squared. Kaya nga naman, 12 divided by 12 is 1. X squared divided by x is cancelled. Ang y squared, divide sa y, you're gonna get y cubed divided by y is y squared. What about z? Z squared and z. Okay, very good. That's z. Plus, what about 36 divided by the GCM? 36 divided by 12 is 3. X squared yz divided by x squared yz, it's 1. So therefore, the factors are 12x squared yz and y squared z plus 3. Let's have more examples. Okay, let's factor the following. So what's common here? The variable x, okay? Ang variable y, the lowest exponent is 1. For the variable c, the lowest exponent is still 1. And you divide this one divided by xyz. You are left with x, correct? Plus, this one divided by xyz. You are left with y. And the last term divided by xyz, you are left with z. And therefore, these are your factors for number 1. Number 2. Okay, 14 and 4, common is 2. Correct. For the variable m, okay, m alone. For the variable n, the smallest exponent, that's squared. So let's do division now. 14 m squared n divided by 2mn squared. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. M squared divided by m is m. N squared or n squared gets cancelled out. Minus this one divided by this, you'll get 2n. That's totally right. Okay. So take note. Just rewrite the sign. If it's plus, then you write plus. If it's minus, then write minus there. Let's have more examples. What if you're given this? Very good. Common is 50. So this one divided by 50 is A. This one divided by 50 is B. Oh, these are your factors now. Let's go to example number 4. Common is 3x. Correct. So you have this one divided by 3x is x. This one divided by 3x is 3. And those are your factors for number 4. For number 5, common is 2, correct? X cubed, the smallest exponent is cubed. That's totally right. Divide this by 2x cubed. Correct, you'll get x squared. plus divide this by 2x cubed. Very good. You're gonna get 6 there. Okay. Note, in determining the greatest common factor, use the following rules. Step 1, solve the GCF of the constants. Step 2, get the common variable with the lowest exponent. And step number 3, divide the GCM on both expressions by dividing the constants using the integer rule and subtracting the exponent of the variable. So that is the common monomial factoring. This time, let's go to the second factoring method, which is factoring difference of two squares. So take note, the difference of two squares is simply the reverse of finding the product of a sum or difference of two terms. Like for example, you'll multiply x plus y and x minus y. The result is simply x squared minus y squared. To prove this one, I'm going to show you this one using FOIL method. The FOIL method stands for first, outer, inner, and last. Let's start with the first term. There you go. That's a times a squared. Outer terms, a times 4, negative 4 to be specific, that's negative 4a. Inner terms, 4 times a, that's 4a. And the last terms, 4 times negative 4, that's negative 16. And take note, the outer and the inner term is 0. Negative 4a and positive 4a is 0. Therefore, you are left with a squared minus 16. And this is the product. So this time, I will give you this and you will give me the factors. Let's go. And take note, you need to remember, these are the numbers that you should see in the given. These are the perfect squares. So take note of this. These are the numbers that you need to examine. And if you see these numbers in your binomial, it is a minus, then it's a difference of two squares. Let's go to our first example. Now, for example, d squared minus 144. So automatically, your factors will be plus and minus. And what are you going to do with this? Get the square root of d squared and 144. Get the square root of the first and the last term of the binomial. So the square root of d squared is d. So you write d here. The square root of the last term, 144, is 12. You write 12 over here. And that's it. That will be the answer. These are your factors. Simple as that. Now let's go to the other three examples. Look at this one. The square root of x squared is x, so it's x and x. The square root of 100 is 10. That's why you'll write 10 there. And the sign should be plus and minus. So take note, the sign should be plus and minus. What's the square root of 49y squared? It's 7y. This is 7y, by the way. This is 7y. Okay, next. The square root of 9. The square root of 9, that's 3. You're going to write 3 there. And that is how you do factoring common difference of two squares. Now, why is letter C not factorable? Because 15 is not a perfect square. If I'm going to give you y squared plus 100, you cannot factor this out. This is not factorable. Why? Because this is not a difference of two squares. This is plus. So take note, you can do difference of two squares if it's x squared minus, example, 36. So the factors are, you have plus and minus. Pilay square root sa x squared. X, the square root of 36 is 6. And there you have it. Those are your factors. Now, let's go to the general trinomial, the general quadratic trinomial. Now, I will give you a hint. If you're given a plus and a plus, the factors, the sign of the factors is plus plus. If it's minus plus, then the sign of the factors is minus minus. If the factors or the given is plus minus or minus plus, and it's plus minus. So just take note of the signs. Okay? It's easier to remember the signs here. Let's have example number 1. So, the sign of the last term is positive. The sign of the last term is positive. Here. Determine the sign of the factors. Unsay sign sa fact? What will be the sign here? It's plus plus. Ang given ako kay plus plus. Therefore, it's plus plus as well. Next, find the factors of 24. When added, it's 10. What are factors of 24? Factors of 24, we have 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Which among these factors has a sum of 10? Ig-add mo sa duha ka factors, it's 10. Of course, 4 and 6. So therefore, I'll be writing the variable x there. I'll be writing 4. I'll be writing 6. It's okay to interchange. You'll have 6 here and you'll have 4 here. And these are your factors for this example. Okay, let's proceed to another example. What if the last term is still positive? It's still positive. So we have, okay, determine the sign first. The sign is minus minus, correct. Now, what are factors of 24? When added, it's 14. That's step number 2. So, asa man nga factors, ani, ang sum is 14. Sir, it's 2 and 12. So, I'm gonna be writing the variable x here, and I'm gonna have 2 and 12 over there. You can interchange 2 and 12, by the way. And that is your answer. Those are your factors. So, take note, the last term will tell you on what to do with the factors. In this case, since the last term is positive, you need to add the factors. And take note, it should be the middle term. What if the last term, this is not positive, what if the last term is negative? What if the last term is negative? Now this time, we will be subtracting the factors. So let's look at the signs first. You are given plus minus, therefore the sign is also plus and minus. Let's write the variable x first. Okay, so take note, this is difference now because the last term is minus. So I'm gonna be getting the difference of the factors. So these are the factors. 1, 4, 124, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Which among these factors has a difference of 5? Of course, it's 3 and 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Then when you get the difference, why is it that you're getting the difference? Because the sign of the last term is minus. So, i-minus po na to ang ilang factors. So, I'm gonna be using 8 and 3. Please do not write 8 right away on the positive or on the negative part. We have a rule for that. The bigger factor will carry the sign of the middle term. The bigger factor is 8. The sign of the middle term is positive. So, positive 8, negative 3. Again, the bigger factor will carry the sign of the middle term. Let's have our fourth example. Again, this is still negative. Okay? That's negative. Okay. So, first thing, determine the sign. The sign will be plus and minus. Let's write the variable x there, the variable x. And we have, get find factors whose difference is the middle term ang result. Okay? So take note, we will be subtracting the factors because the last term is negative. So what are factors of 24 when subtracted? It's 23. Sir, it's 24 and 1. And take note of the rule. The bigger factor will carry the sign of the middle term. The bigger factor is 24. The middle term is negative. So negative 24, positive 1. And there you have it. Those are your factors. Let's go to more examples. Here, what are factors of 63? When subtracted, it's 2. And by the way, what will be the sign of our factors? It's minus minus, therefore it's plus minus. X and X. Okay, I'll be using factors 9 and 7 because when I multiply 9 and 7, it's 63. When I subtract 9 and 7, it's the middle term 2. Now, which among is the bigger number? 9 is the bigger number. What is the sign of the middle term? Negative. So, negative 9, positive 7. Example number 2. Plus minus. So, ang sign na ko ana is also plus and minus. Okay? Now, what are factors of 54? When subtracted, it's 3. Correct. It's 9 and 6. Now, which is the bigger factor? 9 is bigger. The sign of the middle term is positive. So, positive 9, negative 6. Let's go to example number 3. Negative, positive. So, ang sign ani is negative, negative. So, X and X. What are factors of 16? When added, it's 10. Correct. It's 8 and 2. So I can write 8 here and I can write 2 there, or I can interchange 8 and 2, no problem. Anyway, both are negative. For the last example, we have plus and plus. Correct. Plus and plus. And what are factors of 20? When added, it's 12. Correct. It's 10 and 2. Because 10 times 2 is 20, 10 plus 2 is 12. So I'm going to be having 10 and 2. And there you have it. You can apply this one, by the way, if your x squared has a coefficient 1, and 1. Now, what if the coefficient of x squared isn't 1 anymore? Look at this example. I'm going to give you 3x squared plus 8x plus 4, for example. So, the first step is simply, you have 3x squared here, right? You have 3x squared there. So, meaning, I'm going to be having, you write 3x over 3. If this is 5x squared, I'm going to be having 5x over 5. If this is 7x squared, I'm going to be having 7x over 7. Now, after writing that, the sign of the factors. So, take note, the given is plus plus. So, the sign of my factors is also plus plus. So, next thing to do, multiply the constants or the coefficient of the first and the last term. Multiply 3 and 4, you'll get 12. And this is now the time you get factors of 12. When added, it's 8. Again, multiply 3 and 4 to get 12. Factor 12. And the factors should have a sum. I-add ni mo, it should be 8. Correct. It's 6 times 2. So I'll be writing 6 here and 2 over here. You can interchange them, by the way. Now, let's proceed to common monomial factoring. What's common between 3 and 6? Okay, 3 and 6. Common is 3. So I'm going to have common monomial, and I am left with x plus 2. Correct. And the second binomial is not factorable. Bring that down. Over 3. Now you have noticed that you can cancel 3. So our answer is simply x plus 2, 3x plus 2. And there you have it. These are your factors. Let's have one more example. I'm going to give you this one. 9x squared plus 3x minus 2. So take note, the first step is simply you have your 2 parentheses. 9x over 9. Determine the sign of your factor. So take note, that's plus minus. Therefore, this is plus minus as well. Multiply the first and the last term. That's 18. Now, what are factors of 18 when subtracted? It's 3. Sir, 6 times 3. Correct. I'm going to be using 6 and 3. Because when you subtract 6 and 3, it's the middle term. So, which is the bigger factor? The bigger factor is 6. Therefore, the middle term is positive. Positive 6, negative 3. Now, proceed to common monomial. Common between 9x and 6 is 3. So, you have 3x plus 2 there. Common between 9x and 3, we have 3. So, 3x minus 1 divided by 9. Now, what is 3 times 3? It's 9. I can cancel 9 there. So, we have our final answer will be 3x plus 2 times 3x minus 1. And that's how you do factoring when your x squared has a coefficient more than 1. Thank you everyone for your time. I hope you learned something of our lesson for this video. Till next time.